Welcome to another edition of Champ Talk with Branden Hudson. I am back in the building, and I have a great guest for you guys today that I'm excited to announce. But before we do that, this episode is brought to you by Cafe Cactus Taverna. I've been messing up all day. It's Monday, so I've been saying everything backwards and wrong. But yes, Cactus Taverna. Our guys, Abe and Ahmad and Ike up there, up North Salisbury Boulevard. Awesome Mediterranean grill, awesome venue. You guys would love it. Definitely go up there and check them out. Make sure you mention us. And again, like I ask on all of the episodes, if you get value from this episode or you think somebody that would, please pass it along, share it, like, subscribe, give us a comment. Let me know a review, anything, man. We're on YouTube, we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, what else? Champ Talk, you know, we're all over the place, man. So check us out. Give us that review. That review goes very far, so that other people that would get value from this or would like this would like to hear it. But and you know we say that every time we get on here. But yep, excited to have another guest back on the podcast. He was on Champ Talk, the original one. Now on Champ Talk 2.0, we got the local legend, Mr. Andrew Davis. How are you, cuz?
I'm good, bro. How are you?
Good, man. Good. So man, when we had you on the podcast, I think it was
2021.
21, yeah. I think it was before COVID, wasn't it?
No, it was after COVID.
Was it after
but
COVID?
It was right at, it was during in the belly of the beast, if you will.
Yeah. We were back in action. I mean, you had so many things that you were involved in back then, and and it's
not much has changed.
Nothing has changed. Yeah. So we're like, but you've got a whole new vibe, new everything with it right now. Like everything's different.
Yeah.
For those that don't know you and those that are listening across the country and stuff like that, let us know what you do. Who are you? What are you doing? Give us that intro.
So, like you said, my name's Andrew Davis. I own Dead Stock. It's a retail clothing store. We do sneakers, vintage, accessories, and just pop culture stuff. In addition to that, I have a nonprofit 501c, Mizzle House Foundation. We work in the community. Our credo is just spreading urban arts awareness on the Eastern Shore and beyond. On top of that, we have Hoops on the Ave. Hoops on the Ave is a yearly 3-on-3 basketball tournament, but we bring arts and music into that. My marketing company, The Collective Standard, works alongside with Hoops on the Ave, alongside Mizzle House Foundation, and we bring you know, just good energy to the community. It's free for kids, and then, you know, on top of that, I have a show called the OG Show that I do my own podcast thing, and we talk about hip hop and sneakers, and again, just doing it for the urban culture. So
yeah, I mean, you unpacked a lot of stuff there, and what I think is pretty cool. You undersold all of it, and that's obviously why we'll get you on here and start talking.
Yeah.
Some of the things that I think that are worth doing. I think you got a hand in the governor's challenge as well. You make some plays over there a little bit.
Collective Standard, we've done a lot of you know, integrated marketing. We call it experiential marketing. It's a big thing nowadays where you just, you know, create a vibe for whatever the space needs. And you know, shout out to my partner Ash. She's kind of the brains. I'm the chaotic getting shit done, and you know, the executor, if you will. So yeah, I mean, Governor's Challenge was a great partnership. We've been in partnership with County Parks and Rec for going on 6 or 7 years now. We'll be partnering again with this year with the Mizzle House for Summerfest, which is a free community event. But yeah, I mean, it's just staying integrated into things that touch what I do, you know, in a profound way.
Yeah, you also do a lot of this while you have a full-time job, which is also helping out the community to some degree. Yeah,
I named all my entrepreneurial thing, but I also work for a company called Team. We do mental health. We're a behavioral health organization, but we work boots on the ground in the community. I work in Cambridge. I work in Salisbury. We work with kids from 5 to 18, and then we work with adults, you know, 18 and up. So it really does you create a different dichotomy for when you're working in those communities and you see the need firsthand. It gives me perspective from the nonprofit side to say, wow, this is what the community needs, or this is where we should show up, and this is how we should show up. So, you know, it definitely illuminated a lot of perspective for me. Being in as an entrepreneur, I was doing the nonprofit thing, I was doing the give back thing regardless. However, you know, being able to get a check for it, but also more importantly, impact people on their level where they're at, literally going to their houses and sitting down and talking with their families and being a being a connector and for things that they need. You know, I'm a resource coordinator, so I'm working with them to find, you know, new housing, new job, things that would ultimately impact their overall quality of life. So yeah,
awesome.
it's a great feeling.
Yes. What so man, you listed off a bunch of shit right there that you're involved, but it seems like the biggest. Well, let me back up some. I want people to understand, you know, the Hoops on the Ave event. First of all, that's not just your, you know, 3-on-3 basketball, you know, ordeal, that basketball tournament.
Yeah.
That's like a full-on like show. It's a festival. Yeah. I mean, you've got art vendors, you've got music vendors, you know, you're highlighting a lot of the local talent in here, which is something you've done a lot. You know, you've been a promoter as far as music game. You've been you had a rap career a long time ago that kind of catapulted all this. But that Hoops on the Ave event really brings the urban arts together in so many different dynamics that, you know, gives the culture, gives the community a chance to really like engulf into, you know, stuff that maybe, you know, a lot of people have never experienced, celebrate stuff that people, you know, see every day, or you know, highlight like their Super Bowl, so to speak, of the year.
Sure.
And a lot of stuff. So I think that was a little undersold there. Let me ask you a question. What got you started in, because I would say that, you know, you're a community figure, you're a community philanthropist. What started all that? Where was the beginning of this?
Well, entrepreneurship led me to philanthropy, but entrepreneurship, I found that, you know, being a 2-time felon, and I know you tell your story so well. We've been in a similar basket together. For those that might not know or caught our first conversation, we are brothers, first cousins. You know, we slept on the floor together growing up. You know, I can distinctly remember one time when you woke me up in the middle of the night and you had my mom's escort, and we went out riding around on the south side at 3 o'clock in the morning. So, yeah, we've literally, it defines from the mud together.
Learn how to kiss with each other.
Yeah, well, sure. I mean, among other things, right? But no, I think that I mean, we were in the streets together. Honestly, you were my mentor to a lot of degrees, from the streets to crossing over. I mean, I think, and there was a cool transition period there too, where, you know, I kind of got into entrepreneurship a little bit before you did, and you know, we kind of enhanced each other and grew together through that process as well, just like we did through the streets and just like we did growing up, you know.
Well, I think the cool to talk about that, the cool thing about that, and not many people know, but you know, you had back then, you had your, you know, you had given up the streets, you had your career, your rap career, which you had gotten into and did, you know, pretty well. We're here locally. Yeah. You were throwing other shows and stuff like that for other artists to get on and so forth. And I think you took a trip out to like Seattle, wasn't it, Washington or something out that way? Yeah. And you got the concept of the shoe store, which is your primary gig, and the for those who don't know what Deadstock is, Deadstock, you know, started off as a consignment, you know, sneaker consignment type of store where, you know, you bring in your sneaker, you put it on a consignment, they sell it. The sneaker craze was probably just about to hit its real big height. Yeah, we started in 2000 and end of 2014, early 15. Yep. And what people don't know, I don't mean to cut you off, but I really want to tell the story and give you your flowers. You know, I got locked up during that time period where you were thinking about that idea. Yeah. And I voted the hell out. I was like, man, what is that going to do? That ain't going to work, blah, 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 blah. And then, you know, I got locked up. I was waiting a case. I was, you know, was going to go to jail for a little while. Life was in shambles, lost my job, you know, stuff like that. And the fun story is that you were like, hey man, you know, you wanna start the sneaker business with me? And I'm like, dude, you know, that's a stupid idea. Why would I do that? And I don't know if you remember this, but you were like, dude, I'd like to help you, man. You've helped me out all my life. I'd like to give you help. And then, you know, and I was like, well, you know, and then you were like, bro, go look up what you have on your wall. Go look up how many boxes of Jordans that you have. And I'm like, all right. So, you know, one night I'm all, you know, baked up and decided to go look it up. And I think like 4 pair of shoes equated up to like $6 or $7 grand. I'm like, I'm in. You know what I mean? No doubt. You know, so what the cool part is like, you know, you had the business model, you had the infrastructure and all that. Beginning, I had the inventory. You know, and I think I tell this story all the time. We took like $13,500 worth of my shoe inventory and turned it into like $22,000 in shoes within like a couple of months, right?
Absolutely.
And then you know, what's funny is like, man, I lived in the shadows for all those years. Nobody really knew who I was and what I was doing. And you know what I mean? I knew how to kind of blend in and so forth. And I'm on work release thinking I'm fooling the system. You know, I'm going down one job, which we did have a letter. We did call them and tell them everything was up and up. But criminals and drug dealers just think they're so fucking smart. So what, for those who don't know, when you're in work release, you're kind of pinned down to where you're supposed to go. You make sure you let them know
certain
what you're
things
doing.
You should and shouldn't do.
So I was going down to this local restaurant for 3 days a week, working from daytime to nighttime.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So, and then I would go for the other from nighttime to early morning, because they needed me as a bouncer and as a guy to clean up the throw up. And then he didn't need me during the daytime, and he had an invested interest in our company, which was and so I'd go down there and help out this company that I'm starting, and I'd call and let them know, and they'd ask, and I'd give them the heads up. Well, the local newspaper did a story on us, and here we are, my dumb ass front page with 2 pairs of sneakers in front of us.
I don't think either of us thought about it at the time. We're like, all right, we'll take a picture together. This is awesome.
I'm incarcerated, taking a picture, bragging about the business I'm starting, and the higher ups over at the jail were like, "Yeah, buddy, sit your ass down." Took me off work release, ended up putting me on the block for 5 months. I lost my parole, like all kinds of shit, man. Which honestly, in hindsight, was the best thing ever that we did, and and that we both definitely saw that that wasn't really my play.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, that particular thing, because you and I were I think you and I were on the verge of never going to be friends again, the way that we were conducting business together, especially under those circumstances.
Well, it was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of excruciating circumstances at that time period. Being a startup and then also being incarcerated. So I mean, both things did play a major role in it. But you know what? I think the great thing about it it lit that fire under you. It gave you that motivation to say, because we both do very niche things, right? I mean, I'm not Foot Locker. I'm not selling women's infant shoes and Nike Techs. I'm selling vintage clothing and accessories and
it grows so much
the exclusive shoes and stuff like that. But I think same for you. It's like MMA is very niche. Not everybody wants. Some people just want to walk on a treadmill. Some people want to just lift weights. Not everybody wants to get in and put the gi on and roll around and try to choke each other out all the time. You know what I mean?
It's funny you say that, because
or punch each other in the face, for that matter.
Right. It's funny you say that, because I always tell people that I'm in the personal development business. It's just, this is the vessel. MMA is the vessel. Combat sports is the vessel to do that. And I mean, this podcast came from all those kind of ideas. And I wanted to give you the flowers and say thank you for that opportunity, because that was a great learning experience, a great time, a tough time in my life, but a great time in my life that did catapult me into figuring things out. But fast forward, and so when we talk about the sneaker company, like you said, it morphed from like a consignment shop into something that, like, again, when you walk into your store in West Ocean City, I mean, it's a beautiful store. You had 2 locations for a while. You decided to just focus on the location down there, which my opinion is a better market. And you go in there, you have such a experiential feeling when you go walk in, let alone the stuff that you have. And then, you took that and you just kind of man, you hit the ground running. So when you talk about your philanthropy, and your entrepreneurial spirit, because I do truly believe and think that that's like where it really took off, was the dead stock store. Yeah. What were the things that, really just started becoming apparent for you to let you see, like, yo, this is what I need to be doing, because it's not like you woke up and said, I'm going to help the world and I'm going to do this and this. I mean, it all, kind of gradually.
Well, what you said, that what you do as an entrepreneur is a vessel for you to be outreach in the way that you do from personal development. Similarly, it works for me in the sense of, mental health and working with people one-on-one and creating a connection with people through arts and music has always been something I'm passionate about, whether I was on the stage performing or whether I had opened the store and I was just connecting with people one-on-one, or similarly, being in the community and throwing these events and stuff like that. I mean, Hoops on the Ave wasn't just a startup that happened all on its own. It started from what we had. It was called Block Stock, and it was a little buy sell trade sneaker event, and then that kind of morphed into the Urban Arts Fest, and the Urban Arts Fest was at Headquarters Live, and we had Probably. The Black Stocks probably brought 200-300 people. The Urban Arts Fest brought maybe like 750 ish to 1,000, something like that. Then we did Mizzle Fest, and Mizzle Fest was downtown, and that was the really the beginnings of the brainchild of what Hoops on the Ave became, because we did a small basketball tournament, and we had Brian from the skate shop do a little skate demo, and we had the music, and we had art, and we had all the cool things that now has grown into what Hoops is. And you know, I think that just being able to, you know, be present and show up over and over and again has allowed what is urban arts on the Eastern Shore to just grow and amplify. And a lot of the things that you see in our area, from art to music, you know, I've influenced without influencing, if that makes sense. You know, I've never been a person that shows up in the rooms to collect my certificate and, you know, take pictures, and no shake to anybody that does that. I mean, it's good to be acknowledged. It feels good, you know, to be heard and be seen. But for me, it's always been a Robin Hood mentality. You know, I've always been in the rooms with rich kids, you know, growing up, and I've always felt like, you know, they can help too, you know, and I, even to this day, I press all my friends, you know what I mean, to be involved with the things that I'm doing, and give back and stay connected in spaces that they don't even know exist half the time. And that's the true, you know, idea of give back, when you're doing it behind the scenes and you're showing up and nobody even knows you're there. You know what I mean?
I couldn't agree more.
So
what, you know, you've been doing Hoops on Ave for 6 years, right?
correct.
Okay.
No, excuse me. This is our fourth year.
Fourth year. And I mean, that thing has grown from like a tremendous amount of, I mean, it was just literally like a half court type field to like multiple courts run and, you know, stages. You got a huge bus that you have that that is like tricked out and like cool as shit. It's pretty awesome that you know you've been able to make. What about the details about Hoops on the Ave is different this year than the years before?
Well, so the first 2 years of Hoops was a partnership with County Parks and Rec. The third year was our first year doing it on our own as Collective Standard. And we took it downtown, and there was a pseudo partnership. They gave us a nice grant, and they helped us with like support for infrastructure and stuff. But it was a little less partnering than what we have with Parks and Rec. Big shout out to James Simmons. You know, without him and us, honestly, the funny story, we were supposed to do a Gov Challenge in 2021. And literally Christmas Eve, he called me after we had built this whole activation for Gov Challenge and done all these things. He called me and said, "Hey man, 60 people pulled out today. We're not doing Gov Challenge this year." So afterwards, I said, you know, because we literally hand built wood walls. We called it our 40 by 40 activation because it was the 40th year for Gov Challenge, and they were wood walls. And you know, I had my cousin, our cousin Mike, out there building walls, and we put all this emphasis and energy into it. It was kind of a deflated feeling. So when we were sitting there just chatting and having a conversation, it was kind of like, we want to do something in 22. What is it? You know, like we've got to do something. We're getting antsy. You know, that COVID, that feeling of just depression or whatever. It just feeling antsy and that anxiety of wanting to get back out in the community and do stuff was ever present. And so we said, look, you know, I think a 3-on-3 tournament outside. You know, community get back, making it completely free. The first 3 years has been completely free for Hoops on the Ave. It was something that felt like a passion project. It got me excited again to be in the community, do events. You know, obviously Mizzle House had been stagnant during COVID. We weren't doing anything because there was nothing to do, you know. It was a really unique opportunity to jump into it, and James was eager and I was eager. And in the first year, I think we did 2,500, 3,000 people. But the second year was our most successful year. We did close to 5,000 people. So, you know, that's from all over the community, all over the Eastern Shore, coming out to watch good basketball, good music. You know,
so what what changes to this year? Because like I know some things, but people may not know some things.
So we kind of took we got a little bit of a hiccup bringing it downtown. In my mind, I'm like, let's bring it to the streets. Let's do it, out the way it was intended on the Ave. You know what I mean? Problem is downtown, the streets have been redone, and there's lots of curbs and new things that are brought in. It made a weird dynamic for the gameplay.
Well, it's also downtown's tricky in Salisbury.
100%.
Downtown can go really well or really bad.
100%.
It's one of those things where, in my opinion, as a city, county, we've not dialed that in yet and figured out how to make that a thing. Yeah. Where, you have like the folk festival does very well. But what it caters to is it caters to like a very, very older crowd.
Sure.
And the music's very, very older. And in the same time, some of the younger things kind of do put a black eye on the things that you want to do, because with younger people and younger events come other challenges. In the same sense, you really don't see that in the city. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things that we're still working on downtown, and downtown can be a make or break type of situation where I think sometimes ideas like that aren't the best place to do it, just because we as a city and as a county haven't figured that out yet. Right. You know what I mean?
No, and I mean that's part of the reason I took my business to Worcester as well. Because, and this is no slight, but at the time period that I was downtown with the store, and it was a younger, more progressive leadership, and I had more support. Same goes with the county. I mean, the people that were in positions were very supportive. I think Salisbury and Wycomico's issue sometimes is that there's a pendulum and it swings back and forth, and the focus doesn't stay centered. Sometimes it gets a little bit too political, and that's neither here nor there.
Like many things.
Of course. But I think that ultimately being able to do one year downtown gave me the perspective of saying, no, I need to be with somebody that can help support our initiative and our drive. So, fast forward to December, I got a call from Cody Revel over at Crown Sports and Entertainment. Yep. So they basically said, hey, I heard you were looking for a home for Hoops on the Ave for 2025, and we'd love to house you. So one conversation led to another, and they've actually become our official partner. So big kudos to Cody and Rhodey and Joey, who all have a big role over there at Crown, making Crown cool again, because Crown for a few years there felt like it was a dinosaur that did soccer and did some cool sports things, but you weren't bringing your kids out there anymore like it was maybe a decade ago or something.
It kind of reminded me of when you said that. Remember Skateland?
Yeah.
Remember the band in the back that was sitting there?
It was like Five Nights at Freddy's before Five Nights at Freddy's. It was like an animatronic animals and stuff.
Man. They're like the weird ones that like you think are coming to life and kill you because of the horror flicks. Yeah, that's kind of what it did. And Cody, man, shout out to him. He's done a tremendous job of turning out. We've done events out there with jiu-jitsu tournaments or jiu-jitsu showcases, and just all around. I mean, he runs the Athlete Academy. He crushes it. He's actually going to be a guest on the podcast, so I've got him scheduled. Yeah, he's
awesome.
He's he just does so much for so many people, and he's a big picture guy. He sees the big picture.
He does.
So that should be awesome, man. So yeah, I look forward to that, man. And when is that date? Just
it's May 10th.
May 10th.
Yep. Cool. Crown Sports Center. It's going to be indoor outdoor. That one of our biggest issues with doing our event last year. We did it June 20th instead of May. Every year prior had been right before Memorial, or actually it was Memorial Day weekend. We would do it on that Saturday. So we're backing it up a little bit into May, because we want to invite the college kids. We want to invite the kids from SU and UMES to come out, because we never had that synergy to be able to have them come out and be a part of such a cool community event. But yeah, doing it downtown last year, we did it June 20th, and it was hot. It was like the second hottest day of the summer. So it really put a damper on things. So this year will be indoor outdoor, which will allow us to give people a place to kind of get out of the sun for a little while. And we've got some really cool ideas that just follow Instagram, Hoops on the Ave. And stay tuned in, because there's gonna be a lot of cool stuff coming.
And then people listen to this, if they wanted to enter the contest,
Yeah, you can register on hoopsontheave.com.
Okay.
We're giving away $4,000 in prizes. So the Elite Men's it's a $2,500 prize. Men's rec, even if you like yourself, you claim to be a baller. You could put a team in, and it's like registrations anywhere from 100 to 250, but for a team. But you win $1,000 prize.
You see that shit that he does? I'm talking my gimp in the box over there. I know you can't speak because you got a ball in your mouth right now, but you see the shit he does. He throws that shade out there, saying, "Yeah, you claim to be a baller. Let's see how it goes. Knowing I punish him on the basketball court.
Let's see how it goes.
I love it.
We played many a days.
I love it, man. That's
from Bivalve to Beaver Run. We had a lot of good times.
I love it, man. That was a good move there. Awesome. So check that out. Check out Hoops on the Ave. They're still taking people in, so that'd be awesome to see that you grow that any bigger, and I'm excited for it as well. To see what you're able to do. Shifting gears. So, you got the OG show, dude, and that's what's so impressive. I mean, obviously I love you, man. You're my cousin and all that shit, right? You know what I mean? But the other side of it is I'm so impressed by all of the things that you have your hands in that tend to be brand recognizable, brand consistent. But then there's always this thing that you are able to do. And the OG show, I don't know if it still is. I haven't been keeping up on it, but
we've been off air for about a year. But
but it started on a radio show, right? They were approached by the radio show, and
no, actually, I did the approaching. It was I can remember riding to our grandmother's. We were going to the funeral home to make our plans for her, and I saw a picture of Ron Banks. Shout out Ron from Live 97.5. He had posted a picture with Charlemagne and said that the Breakfast Club was coming to the shore and da-da-da. So I picked up the phone and said, hey, man, I'm kind of in a low place right now. I need something to feel, excited about and something to feel important. I just lost my grandmother. What do you think about, us doing an hour show on Sundays? Sunday night, and he said 100%. I think that's a great idea. Ron and I have had a lot of respect for each other over the years. So out of a space that I was kind of sad or grieving or whatever, I took an opportunity to take that next step because you know Judy as well as I would. She didn't want us sitting around crying for her. She wanted us back active and making her proud. So that's where the OG show started.
Nice. Yeah, that's so. Yeah, you jump on the OG show. You had a lot of buzz around that. You know what I mean? You were doing it on a Sunday night, which I didn't think was a prime time slot, and you were still getting massive amount of listeners, massive amount of people. I was on the show a couple of times. Yeah. You had a lot of cool things going on. Juggling all these things that your hands are in. You know what I mean? And all these entrepreneurial, solopreneur things that you're doing. What is the bigger picture, where are we going in the next 5 years? What does the next 10 years look like? What does that look like for you and your dream and your Hoops on the Ave vision personally with everything that you've gotten so much of your hands in? What does that look like?
I think a good metaphor for entrepreneurship is being like a chef in a kitchen, and you get your first set of knives when you go to culinary school, and you get your first apron, and it's kind of like you shed that skin when you get your first big job, and you might go buy another set of knives, and you might buy a nicer apron, or you get one of them chef's jackets. And I think that where I'm at right now, I've traded my old knives for new knives, and those knives are those specialty Japanese Ginsu knives where it's all about precision at this point. It's all about making sure that we're scalpel sharp when it comes to what we do and delivering a certain level of product to the community, albeit through my store, albeit through the events we put on, or the product that we're putting out in conversations like this. I mean, it's all about being the sharpest, cleanest version of yourself. I mean, and that starts with personal development. I've taken this year, I've stopped smoking, I've stopped drinking. I'm in the gym, I'm working on my personal development to make myself a better hustler out in these streets. So
I got it. More on that. What when you talk about you quit smoking, obviously not cigarettes. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you quit drinking as well as getting to the gym. Those things were a big part of your life for a while. Because it's been about 60 days, 90 days? How long?
Yeah, I did 60 days no smoking. I'm still not drinking. I'm still pretty clean there.
It's been like a first quarter type of vibe that you've been on and kicking you've been on. What kind of for the other guys and gals that are out here listening that are hearing that, you know what I mean, and maybe struggling with personal development, struggling with making some changes in their lives, in that regard, they hear it all the time from guys like me that live in the gym, or people that are like but from a guy that's just 60, 90 days in, you know what I mean, and is focused on changing and making those lives so that it does not only just give you years, but also helps your entrepreneurial spirit, your grind, your hustle, and all that. What give us some takeaways on that? How do you feel? What's been good for you? What's been working? What's not been working? All the above.
I mean, I think the reality of it is you got to go full steam with your commitment. I mean, half of a commitment, if you did half of a test, it's 50%. You're failing that test. So I think that going for that 100%, and even if you fail once or fail twice, so you're still falling in that 90 to 100% category. That's the commitment you have to make, and lifestyle changes. I not only have I committed myself to physical health and not smoking and drinking, but I'm also listening to Sunday podcasts, and I say podcasts, they're faith-based, their sermons, but they feel like podcasts to me. I listen to specifically a guy out of North Carolina. His name's Stephen Furtick. He is he's a motivational speaker, but he's faith-based. So I really like the feeling of connecting with somebody through a faith base, but also having a personal development vibe to him. Not to mention he wears like gallery department and like designer clothes, which like makes him all the more relatable to me personally. But reading
shape,
books,
looks good, got a good
100%.
He does
he's
a
fly.
Good, but that's great. What is that doing for you? Like right now, what is all that stuff doing for you and your business, or you and your mental clarity? Like, share some of the stuff personally that it's helping you right now.
Well, and even compounding on what I was saying, like the supplements, taking vitamins every day, doing focus. Like I take like a energy focus drink every morning to kind of get myself started. That puts me in a mode. Some people are gonna want to rely on a prescription pill like an ADHD medicine or an anxiety medicine or something like that. I'm focusing on the holistic side of development, where you read and you stop and you pause and you think and you clear your mind before you go in, kind of like what you did for the podcast. You kind of did a big woosah, breathe in through your nose and let it out. For me, once I finally sit down and I get in that mode feels like I'm on top of Mount Everest, and then I'm tapping away or calling or making my moves, and my time and my efficiency is more crisp and more just straightforward, because I'm not taking time to be like, well, I'm getting a little worn out, let me go smoke a blunt, or I'm getting hungry, let me go eat. I can eat when the work's done, I can chill when the work's done. The priority is getting the work done, and that just comes from mental clarity, that comes from focus, and that comes from treating your body right, and not taking advantage of cutting corners and all the things that come with just being lazy and being stagnant.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. I know that for me, I run so hard. I'll be 44 next month, actually on Easter Sunday. And for me, in the MMA world, the combat sports world, I, as well as being in a college town and all that, I mean, these guys and gals they're not getting any older. They're coming in younger. They're coming in stronger. They're coming in, in shape. They heal faster than I do. And, I have to not only be able to keep up with that, but, also be able to be sharp so I can coach with clarity, and I can give instructions detailed, and then go over to, the Maryland and Delaware group where we, help run a brokerage and recruit and coach agents and get them, got to be sharp with that. Then I'm speaking on stages. I'm hosting podcasts. Like I'm doing so many things like yourself that require like all of me. I can't be half stepping, you know what I mean? If I drink on the weekends, and I haven't given up drinking, I haven't drank any liquor this entire quarter since New Year's. I had a couple glasses. I like wine. I'll drink some wine at dinner, but I've actually been 2 weeks in on 75 hard, so it's been a little different. But overall, I'm not drinking liquor or saying I'm never going to drink again. But I do know, like on those weekends where I went out on a Saturday night, or we did something on a Friday night, I'm paying for it for 2 or 3 or 4 days in a row, and I'm paying for it in a way where I'm not sharp. my nutrition has to be dialed in. You know what I mean? You talked about supplements. We got a really good supplement brand that we promote, we sell here, that, you know, these supplements, you know, they give me that clarity, that focus, the fill-ins of what I don't get from my nutrition and water. I mean, all the things. Sleep and recovery is my biggest challenge, but I have to have those elements all dialed in, or when we get to the point where, you know, I go from the match to the office to the, you know, dealing with a client, dealing with people, you know, like you too many dynamics are going on. And then I do a bunch of social media marketing as well. So I understand totally the entire enchilada, so to speak, of wellness, where it comes to reading, it comes to, you know, what you're pouring in your mind, listening to podcasts like Champ Talk with Branden Hudson, being able to sit here and, you know, work out, lift, you know, combat sports, push yourself as a man, push yourself as a woman, you know, also, you know, watching your diet, you know, just being mindful of all of these things, man, pays off dividends, especially for you young entrepreneurs, solopreneurs. If you want to get into business, you want to, you know, do some things for yourself. Like, it starts with there. If you don't have, I read this thing today, man, it was really tough. It was like, you know, most 40-year-old men can't do 5 pull-ups, can't do 20 push-ups without breaking, you know, are 20 pounds overweight, you know, and have these other things. And then they're the ones that want to say that they need to be leaders, but yet they lack the self-discipline in themselves, right? And again, you don't have to be a gym rat like myself or like, you know, some of the people that I hang out with, but just honoring your body and doing those little things every single day are going to pay off dividends and obviously add more time to your life. Yeah. You know, one of my fears is being, you know, like our grandfather, stuck in a chair. You know, like, look, just off me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be stuck in a chair. No doubt. And, you know, I think that we all can make the changes sooner than later. And doing that's been the most pivotal thing in my life. But yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think that's really cool that you're starting to see that and you're really starting to see the benefits of it and what that looks like and what's that's yielding you. Because again, you know, you're just really basically depositing into your, you know, your wellness bank, into your mindset bank. Real quick, I want to touch on team. Team is interesting because, you know, that's so to speak your full-time gig, or right. I guess you got 3 full-time gigs, but you know, what is that all about? What do you do with that?
So team's an acronym for Together Everyone Achieves More. And you know, we are, again, mental health organization, a behavioral health organization. And we work in the communities, unlike a lot of these behavioral healths where you got to go sit behind somebody like this and you're on the other side of the desk and they're asking how you're feeling and what do you need and what do you want. And I mean, sometimes when you're taken out of your own environment, you kind of get into like a shell shock where you're just like, I don't know what I want.
Let me stop you there. Sure. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I want you to be clear about this. It's not just that you're in the community. I mean, you're in some pretty rough parts constantly every day. If it's not like you're going around in these gated communities, like you're in the thick of things. Yeah, man. You're in the streets.
100%. You know, in Cambridge, we work at 500, 600. You know, we're over in Salisbury. We're over Pemberton, Waterside. So you know, these aren't upper echelon. These are people that are you know, don't even have access. They have access through the health care that they are provided, but have never even considered that they can take advantage of a therapist or take advantage of community resources in a way that, you know, all they know is getting food stamps and making sure they have insurance and making sure they have X, Y, and Z. And I think what Team introduces is a quality of life change. Yeah. It's a mind shift. Like you said, how much are you depositing into your own personal bank to allow yourself to see and do better with your own life. Some of these people are suffering with severe PTSD, depression, anxiety, bipolarness, and you know, they don't even know how to identify it in themselves because they've just systemically through generation after generation have found themselves in a hamster wheel, if you will, and it's not defined to one genre. It's not defined to a culture or a race or anything. I mean, everybody that's in those type of settings nowadays all struggle.
Well, there has been studies and research shown that, especially in the African American communities and cultures, you know, a lot of therapy is not even considered. You know what I mean? Right. It's kind of like, hey, pick yourself up by your bootstraps. You know, right? And we're seeing a big change and a big shift in that, you know, with companies like Team and other places that are really promoting mental health and things like that. Look, there are things out here, resources out here that you can take advantage of that are at your fingertips. But like you were saying, a lot of people don't know where to go, and,
Right.
and you guys kind of foster that, correct?
Well, the beautiful part of team is that, when I walked in there 2 years ago and I sat down in that room, it was a room full of educated, beautiful black people, and for me, I'm a grain of salt in that room. There's only one other guy. His name is Mr. Brad. He's a therapist that's white in team's organization. And, I think the best way to be able to connect with people of whatever level socioeconomic is to be on their level as far as what they look like, you know what I mean? And I didn't look like anybody, and I don't look like people in the Cambridge community. I don't look like people in the Salisbury community as service. However, because of my life and the choices I made and the streets I've grew up in and surrounded myself with, 5 minutes into a conversation, they're like, oh, all right, Mr. Drew's cool. You know what I mean? So, I think that being able to be a part of something that really taps into the culture. One super cool thing that we do is we partner with retail brands that are across the bridge. One being Off Tour. Off Tour is like the biggest Baltimore clothing brand, and we have jackets and pants that have the Off Tour brand on it. It's recognizable. Same goes for Museums out of DC. They've worked with the Commanders. They're working with the Capitals. They're working with some of these biggest brands, the Wizards, in DC, and they're also working with Team too. So on top of that, we've done graffiti murals with my homeboy Hootie Hoo. I kind of led him to the water with that, and it's just all about culture, man. And that goes back to what my basis point is for doing everything I do, which is just to do it for the culture. And Kyrie, my boss, he sees that vision. He does an excellent job in executing that vision, and he does a phenomenal job of making sure that the money that's being made by Team is going back into the people that are helping us make that money. You know what I mean? That from clothings to events to our summer programs to giving away cars, getting people into jobs and situations. I mean, he's phenomenal at that. So it really aligns, and you want to have somebody you look up to and say, you know what, they're doing it bigger. Kind of like how you are with Nick and Brandon Brittingham. You got these guys that are doing it at a higher level than you're doing it, and you're looking upward. You want to be up there with them. And Kyrie's on the same level. He's making so much money. He's killing it, but he's also so aware and so sensible when it comes to how his business is operated, and it's truly inspiring.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, for me, money's great, but it's what I align with guys.
Impact.
What I align with those guys, and it sounds like you do the same, is just the purpose driven, man. Just having that purpose behind you, and that machine of saying, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing, this is who we're helping.
Absolutely.
And obviously, we all want to be paid for our time and for our expertise, because it goes a lot into it. And that'll segue me into the last question. I usually ask everybody this. It's not like you're, and I'm not trying to be forth, obviously I know your situation. It's not like you're, in a gated community with, college tuitions paid for your kids and, champagne taste, right? You're on ground zero. You do well for yourself. You've been doing well for a while, but it's not like you're floating. It's not like you're where you want to be, right? Mm-hmm. But you put a lot of time in, a lot of hours, and a lot of effort in. Is it all worth it?
I think you wake up and do what you want to do on a daily basis. That's the satisfaction. Mm-hmm. I tell people all the time that come into the store, listen, I get to talk sneakers, listen to hip hop, connect with people one-on-one. I'm satisfied. I'm happy. Is my bank account full? No. Is the every branch of my tree that I've created running at full efficiency? No. However, the value that I see comes in dividend through experiences, the connections, the network, and just the overall growth of what it takes to be, somebody on the Eastern Shore trying to make a change. I feel like I beat the odds, man, and I feel like you have too. And that's the testament to the storytelling that comes along with us having our own conversations with people and things like that. It's yeah, days are tough. Yeah, it fucking sucks sometimes to be an entrepreneur, but I think the most satisfying part about being in entrepreneurship is that there are no rules, there's no boxes. We get to do what we want to, and we can change our latitude whenever the fuck we feel like it. And that's gratifying to me.
What would you say to the aspiring solopreneur, manager at a job, or salesperson, or whatever person that's ready to take that leap? What would you say do to take that first leap into entrepreneurship?
Don't follow the cliches. You know, don't look at it as, well, if I make it 5 years, I'm successful. You know, that's bullshit. You know, that only gets you to another echelon, and then it gets harder. You know, and don't allow yourself to be burdened by, you know, the restrictions that society puts on you. I mean, you know, bills will get paid, taxes will get paid, you know, and granted, I'm not suggesting anybody, you know, do fraud or anything like that. But at the same time, you know, don't focus so much on the bottom line that it affects your overall well-being, because at the end of the day, another opportunity comes across, another thing pops up, and you look back a year behind whatever you were going through, and you say, shit, that wasn't so bad. I already got over it. I'm already past it. I'm already through it, you know? So I think that maintaining that focus and that upbeat attitude is hard to do, especially as you get older, especially as you approach 40, 45 years old. You know, you start feeling tired, you know, you start feeling like life starts creeping in, and all you want to do is sit down and spend time with your kids and your grandkids and just enjoy life. We had that conversation the other day. So, you know, I think being able to keep your focus on what matters is what matters at the end of the day.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Wrapping up, where can we find you? Where can we get up? Would you say we're in, you know, we want some sneakers, say we want to be a part of Hoops on the Ave, say we want to, you know, get a part of team, like give me all the socials, the followers. How can we get in touch with you?
Yeah. So with Dead Stock, catch me at the beach, hun. Is that's the Baltimore saying? We're in the West OC outlets, right behind Outback. We are open 7 days a week, 365. So if you can't make it to the beach, catch us online, deadstockoc.com. Then with Hoops on the Ave, May 10th, it's going down in Fruitland at Crown Sports Center. Indoor-outdoor event, all-day event. Bring the kids out. It's free for kids 14 and under, and we'll keep it that way forever. Hoopsontheave.com. If you want to register, put a team in, you want to be a vendor, reach out to me personally if you want to sponsor. And then with everything else, you know, I'm online. Find me, Andrew Davis. You can search the OG Show. You can find those different elements everywhere. Yeah, man. Team is you see our big white vans riding around, you see me in the community, feel free to honk at me, pull me over, give me a call on my phone. Again, you know, you can hit me on Facebook, Instagram, reach out to me. If you got a special needs person, somebody that's going through something, is in crisis, and they need some support, they need some therapy, give me a holler, and we're glad to help. We'll be on the scene. That's awesome, man. Well, it was great having you on the show again, and being able to highlight a lot of the things you do. So thank you. I know we pulled it together today. So yeah, thanks for coming on, and don't be late again. But glad to be a part of it. Guys, that'll do another episode of Champ Talk with Branden Hudson. If you guys got value out of this, share it, send it to somebody that you think would get value. Please go to our YouTube page, Spotify, Apple Music, like, subscribe. Leave us a review. And don't just say how Champ Talk changed your life. Like, I want to hear some details. Tell me what we can do better. Message us. We love to hear the feedback. We'd love to be able to continue. We do all of our content for free. So we just want to give back and give as much as we can to the airways and give you guys a lot of value. But other than that, it was a great episode. Another one in the books. What are you doing today to become a champion?